Hello, I'm Ricky Hook, and this is The Witcher 3 being broken down for the design principles assignment 1. The premise of The Witcher 3 is that it's a third-person action role-playing game, which is the third installment of the Witcher's franchise, created by a Polish game company called Projekt Red. The Witcher 3, as well as its previous installments, are all based on fantasy novels and short stories written by a Polish publisher called Andrzej Sapkowski. The Witcher 3 follows the main antagonist called Geralt of Rivia as he goes to find his adopted daughter Ciri, who is being hunted by a mysterious and dangerous group called the Wild Hunt. The Witcher 3 grabs the player's attention straight away and gets them ready to get invested and lost into the game's world, as well as the story by playing a pre-rendered cinematic cutscene which tells the player the game is about to start and to get ready. This is the magic circle being used successfully and correctly, as it sets the game up for the player to get ready to get lost in the world and become part of the story as they play through the game, with both of them knowing that they are now in a virtual world, able to do anything they want that they can't do in the real world. Allowing the player to make their own decision or create meaningful play, as the player will decide how they want the story to go via them picking their own actions, allowing them to have fun in the game and get invested into that world as they are having a unique experience due to the choices they have made throughout the game, which will be different from others, thus creating a unique story for them. The Witcher 3 uses both descriptive and evaluative types of meaningful play. With the descriptive type of meaningful play, players won't know what the outcome will be when the player picks that choice or action. A clear example of this can be seen when the player stumbles upon a man tied by the lake and is about to get attacked by drowners, which activates the quest at the mercy of strangers. The player is given the choice to either untie the man and let him go, which appears to be the good choice to take, or keep him tied up and allow him to be killed by drowners, which appears to be the evil choice.
Fine, I'll help.
Oh, thanks. For a minute there, I was almost sure you'd leave me to die. I'd like to thank you somehow, but I've not a chip crown to my name.
Tough. I'll take the loss.
Thanks, Witcher. May you prosper on the path.
If the player chooses to untie the man, the tied up man can be found in a pillaged camp after a few days of being released by the player. This is meaningful play being used well because the player didn't know this was the outcome of saving the man, further creating more fun as it was so unexpected. The same quest also contains the other type of meaningful play, evaluative. Evaluative type of meaningful play is that the player is aware of the outcome that will occur when they have picked an action. This is seen when the player confronts the tied up man in the pillaged camp and has two choices to choose from, either fight and kill the man and his bandits, or accept the money.
Should have left you there, tied up, right at the water's edge.
Well, you can't turn back time, but I'm willing to see to it your conscience don't torment you long. Get him!
After the fighting has finished and enemies have been defeated, searching the pillaged camp will reveal a letter which tells the player that a boy left the camp in search of work in the city, and how he misses everyone within the camp, even his pet. This causes the player to feel like they have caused the death of this camp and ruined the boy's life. However, the player will feel more invested and lost within the game's world and in the story as they are creating some of the lore as they go on. Implementing good and bad actions within The Witcher 3 creates a more meaningful play for the player, which then makes the game more fun as it adds a more in-depth playing experience for the player as they have the choice of playing as a good or evil character due to the actions they are able to pick. This further gives the player a sense of a unique gameplay as they can make their own choices that will further change the story and interactions between other NPCs in the game's world for them, as well as create more fun for the player due to meaningful play being used successfully due to them having the freedom to do what they want within the game's world.
Don't start haunting us. Well, that battlefield's gonna cause us a heap of trouble.
If they do, you know who to contact. Meanwhile, Claire, Volker, names ring a bell?
I don't know him. Though I did hear our herbalist Tamira mention a Claire once. Same one, maybe? Your reward, Master Witcher. The gold I'd hid away for Mandy's dowry. Without you, she'd never have lived to wed. Now, there's hope for it, at least.
At this point, doubt I'll ever marry. You keep the coin from Mandy, her wedding. Raise a toast to my health then.
Thank you, Master Witcher. Them's warm words, you've a good heart. But I can't let you go empty-handed. Take this, at least. For luck.
The Witcher 3 strays away from using some of the traditional core dynamics of games and puts a twist on them, which works in its favour due to its vast world, in-depth storytelling, and gameplay. The core dynamics that aren't implemented into The Witcher 3 are territorial acquisition, spatial reasoning, building, trading, chasing or invading, and race to the end. However, the horse minigame requires you to come first in order to win against the opponent. The minigame Gwent is a card game within the world of Witcher 3, which is extremely popular with players and can be played against NPCs within the game and rewards the player for winning. The player can win or get an advantage in the game by predicting the cards in the opponent's hand, as well as guessing what their next move or moves will be in order to think of a strategy to prevent or defeat the opponent before they have the chance of winning. Survival is a core dynamic in The Witcher 3, but is used slightly different to other games which use survival to a fair extent, such as DayZ, where you must keep your hunger and hydration full. On the highest difficulty, that being Deathmarch, the player is put in a more realistic and dangerous world where the player must use food and water in order to regain health, and not meditating to regain their health, which is used in the less difficult difficulties. As well as gaining less experience points, have less health, and enemies have more attack and health when on the Deathmarch difficulty. Another core dynamic used in The Witcher 3 is destruction. Destruction is used differently than other games such as Black Ops, as it is a third-person hack and slash where the player fights against enemy NPCs of various types using various ways of fighting them, such as using a silver sword for monsters and a steel sword for humans. Signs, bombs, and oils are used to aid the player to defeat the bosses and enemies quicker by using the specific items to harm them more. This can be found within the journal, which gives a list of the way to defeat the enemies and their weaknesses. The collection within The Witcher 3 comes in the form of the Gwent cards and unique items such as relic items, but this depends on the player whether they want to keep those items within the chest or sell them for a high amount of money. Collecting Gwent cards in Witcher 3 is optional but will help with defeating opponents who have difficult decks to beat, as well as advancing in the Gwent quest, which gives more cards to complete the collection. It also gives the player a sense of accomplishment when they have beat all the opponents and have spent hours searching for all the cards, even though Gwent is an optional part of the game. The mechanics, dynamics, and aesthetics, also known as MDA, is one type of framework used in the game industry to help make sure that the game is fun and uses meaningful play. The MDA framework was created by a woman who is a game designer and game producer called Robin Hunick. In this part of the video I'll be going over the MDA framework, or the mechanics, dynamics and aesthetics of the game Witcher 3. So here you have the mechanics. So first of all you have the combat where you're able to defeat the enemies using various weapons like light, heavy attacks, signs and crossbows, with the signs being unique to the Witcher 3 game, which are best suited to defeat certain enemies such as fire for humans and a purple circle ring around the race, which damage them more than any other sign. Next you have the skills and upgrading. So certain levels the player can use certain items. So if they can only use a level 15 sword if they're level 15, level 20 if they're 20, etc. Skill points are used to level up the signs and also buy other signs, which will help during the game, this time playing the game, as well as defeating enemies due to them being able to be upgraded to do more damage or regen health after, for 20 minutes after consuming a healing potion or food. So next is crafting, where you're able to craft different weapons and armor as well as potions and bombs, as long as you have the blueprints for them, as well as going to the correct smith. So you have the blacksmith and the armorer, both being able to only produce the armour if they're an armourer, or a blacksmith is able to make weapons such as crossbow and swords. As well as crafting, you have the blueprints, which I mentioned earlier, where you're able to upgrade the blueprints from the basic level to superior to legendary. Next you have the loot, which can be found on defeating enemies or the main mission and side quests, or going around looking for chests in caves. Next you have the storage, which is done by storing items like swords, weapons, armour within a chest, which can be accessed across the world as long as there is the main city and the chest symbol within a city on the map, which signifies that there is a universal chest there where you can take in and put in items which can be saved forever. Next is travel, where you're able to travel from fast travel and horse riding. So obviously horse riding, you can use a horse to get around much faster than walking or running, which allows you to get into more narrow places such as houses or villages or a secret hut in the woods. This also allows for more exploration of the world and discover more side quests and main missions, as well as other loot and chests and different enemies types. Next is the fast travel, where you can only fast travel using signs that you've discovered. You can only discover them by walking up to them, and then you can use them in order to fast travel to other signposts you've discovered. This is in most, if not all, games such as Skyrim. Now, the main side missions can be found through the story. As you complete each mission, a new one will unlock, which is mostly found during the main missions, as there's more of them than the side quests. This also connects to the loot and the type of enemies you'll find during the time you play the quests. Next up is the mini games. The mini games, there are the Gwent and horse racing. The Gwent is the most popular due to that being the most fun and the most addicting, as well as wanting to find all the cards and do the main Gwent mission, which allows you to get legendary cards in order to collect all of the legendary and all the cards in the deck. The Gwent also goes from the discovery as well, the discovery aspect, as the more you discover, the more people that play Gwent, the more cards you'll collect and the more rewards you'll get, as well as completing the Gwent mission, as I said before. Next up is the sensation aspect of that, as no one's really experienced Gwent, which is unique to The Witcher 3 and has been made into its own single player game. Lastly, there's the multiple choice and endings, which leads into the story and the discovery as well as the submission, as the people who play in this game get more into the story and all the side missions and the choices they've made. They feel connected to the player as well as the other players around them, such as Ciri, who you will find later on and have to play through with, as all the missions are well done and the characters are in depth and they're not just throwaway characters unless they're in side missions and they're just random NPCs. Next is the multiple choices and the endings. Next is the endings, which are based on the choices you've made and the decisions you can make at the very end, which gives the player a unique experience as well, which I've said before in the previous parts. Lastly, there's this fantasy, which connects to most of them, especially the enemies, the loot, the weapons, the theme, which is medieval, the story as well, as there can be any types of missions played within the world, as there's no boundaries apart from the imagination of the creative team. The challenge of the game is the urge for the player to want to carry on with the story and want to beat every boss that they can, as to continue through the story and end up beating the game and getting the satisfaction of completing the story their own way, in their own, and having their own unique experience. Thank you for listening to the Game Principle Assignment 1 for The Witcher 3's video.